Just want the music to flow over you. Get into your zone. Think about the bad boy era Pistons, because it's now story time with Terry Foster on the Woodward Sports Network, Detroit's all-digital sports network.
And we take you back to 1989, Detroit Pistons.
What a beautiful year.
Yes. Now, before I begin my story, I want to ask you a question. Why do you think Adrian Dantley was traded for Mark Aguirre? What was the reasoning?
According to the 30 for 30 I watched on the Bad Boys, which you were in, they said that Adrian Dantley was just not a locker room guy. He thought he was better than Isaiah Thomas. He should get the ball in crunch time, and it caused a rift in the locker room.
That is partly true, yes. And the other thing is Chuck Daly wanted more ball movement. Adrian Dantley was 6'4" post player, and when he got the ball, he would dribble 30, 40 times, and it slowed down the offense. And plus, he was preventing Dennis Rodman from playing much, and Chuck Daly wanted to play Dennis Rodman more. But a lot of people look back and say Isaiah Thomas was responsible for the trade. Now, I'm going to give you a little story here, fellas, that may or may not dispute that. 2 weeks before the trade, the Pistons played the Boston Celtics in Boston Garden. And it wasn't the TD Boston Garden. It was the old Boston Garden with the rats and that
the
that
hot-ass
old place.
locker rooms.
Yeah. That was like 7 stories up in the air, whatever it was. So anyway, the Pistons are playing and not playing well. And Adrian Dantley got the ball in the post a few times and slowed down the game. And Chuck Daly just lost it. He said, I'm sick of this. And him and AD went at each other on the floor during the timeout. I mean, they were cussing each other out. It was the worst coach-player incident I've ever seen.
Really?
Just in the middle of the court, cussing each other out. You know, I'm tired of this shit. Let's move on, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, normally what happens after a Pistons game is we never see the Pistons because they fly out immediately after the game.
Round ball one, right?
Round ball one.
Yeah.
However, at Boston Logan Airport, they halted all takeoffs at 10 p.m. So the Pistons did not make the 10 p.m. cutoff, and so they were still at the hotel. So afterwards, I go to the hotel, walk by the hotel restaurant, and lo and behold, guess who walks out? Chuck Daly.
Oh.
Chuck Daly still has this look on his face like he just had the argument with Adrian Dantley. And normally Coach Daly never would tell the media anything that was going on with the team. But this time he was so angry, he started talking about the incident, about why he got pissed at AD, how he wants ball movement, how he wants the team to share the ball, and he doesn't do this, and he's a bad locker room guy. So anyway, he concluded by saying, we got to get this motherfucker the fuck out of here. Just like that, and just angry, just stormed off. That was it. That was in the conversation.
And was that out of character for Chuck?
Very out of character.
Okay.
Yes. At least to me.
Okay.
At least to the media. Maybe, you know, with his players, yeah. They would see that part of Chuck, but yeah, I never saw it. I know he used to get angry, but not this angry.
Right.
So 2 weeks later, people are still speculating that Isaiah Thomas is trying to get his boy in, Mark Aguirre. Thomas and Mark Aguirre were friends. They were boys.
Yep.
No doubt about it. Isaiah wanted to play with him. And Isaiah and AD did not get along. And in fact, and this was in the documentary. I was in the locker room one day, and Dantley did one of these. Come over here, I want to talk to you. So I go over there and said, what's up? And he said, do you know what's wrong with this team? I'm like, no, what? He pointed at Isaiah Thomas, that motherfucker right there. So I'm like, damn. So then, not only that, but he wants to do a story with me about what a bad guy Isaiah is, how Dantley is the better player, and that if the Pistons are going to win championship, it's going to be behind the back of him. So, but I was told by other players that if I came out, because I had just gotten on the beat, and they said if I came out with a story like that, nobody's going to talk to me. So I had to make the decision. Do I get this juicy, salacious story, and then nobody talks to me? Or do I just say, I think I'll hold off on that? I decided to hold off on that.
Did you?
Yes.
Okay.
So
I would have assumed you were like, I got it. I got to do this.
I got it. But you got to look at long-term success.
Okay.
If nobody's going to talk to you during a championship season, you kind of screw yourself for the next 8 months or however long it lasted. So anyway, we're in Los Angeles, and there's a guy named Dean Howe who he covered the Pistons for, back then was Booth Newspapers. And that night, the Pistons and the Lakers played. I think the Pistons won in L.A. Dean's paper wanted to send him back home. He talked to Jack McCloskey and said, hey, Jack, is there anything going on trade-wise? Should I stay here in L.A. or can I go back home? And Jack McCloskey said, oh, Dean, go back home. Everything is good. Nothing's going to happen.
Got him.
So when Dean landed in Flint, he turns on the radio, and Pistons trade Adrian Dantley for Mark Aguirre. He was pissed, so he had to go right back to L.A. to be with the team.
Oh, jeez.
And we talked to AD that day. He was pissed. He blamed everything on Isaiah. We were staying at the Marina Del Rey Marriott, and he was pissed, blamed Isaiah for the thing, and that now they weren't going to win a championship because they traded him. Isaiah got his boy, ruined the team and everything. But it proved that wasn't the case. Mark Aguirre came in, and Mark Aguirre had to he was willing to conform to be a Piston. AD was not. AD's boy was Joe Dumars. They had like an alliance, and I think John Sally to a certain extent.
I can see that. Those are all kind of quiet guys.
Right, quiet guys. But the rest of the team was all Isaiah.
Yeah, Bill Lambiers, Isaiah Thomas, Rick Mahorns.
Right.
Yeah.
Because what happened was that Pistons team, they weren't interested in winning championships. They wanted to be a good team. They wanted to fill the palace. They wanted to win their little 50 games and make it as far in the playoffs as they want. And Isaiah was the one who said, no. We're here to win championships, nothing else. So he infused that mentality of we're here to take it all, because I think even the Pistons thought they couldn't stop the Celtics and the Lakers.
Right.
They couldn't stop the impending tsunami of Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. So they're like, okay, we'll just try to win our games. We'll be the Atlanta Hawks. And Isaiah was like, no, we're going to get through this. We're going to get through LA. We're going to get through Boston, and Chicago has to wait. And that's why a lot of people didn't like Isaiah, because he, imposed his will. He was a little bit of an ass, but he had to be, because you've got to change the mindset.